morning, it's math time with Mrs. Mauro. We are going to be working with quadratics still, and we're going to be solving quadratics by graphing. I hope you enjoy what we're doing today, or however long this takes you to learn. Good luck.
For the warm-up, we have to solve the equation. Step 1, if we can write our equation in standard form, remember, it's this right here, this form. Step 2, you can then graph it. We're going to use our Desmos, or if you have a graphing calculator. And I'm also going to sprinkle in a little bit of algebra skills here. And then step 3, we find the x-intercepts if we have any. Notice, if we have any. So we're going to start a new realm here. So the solutions or roots are the x-intercepts of the graph. So the number of solutions is now going to vary. We might have no real solutions. Notice it has the word real. One real solution or two. Again, it has the word real because eventually you're going to be working with imaginary solutions. For Algebra 1, we don't have to worry about that yet. You can pause this at any time. I just want to show you, if we're solving by graphing, when you graph your parabola, we're going to be looking for those the intercept on the x-axis. So here, this would be x equals 3, and then this one is the 9. They're not. And here I have another example. Notice here we didn't solve this for 0. So we have this becoming the parabola piece, and then the 6 is a horizontal line, and what we're looking for here is their intersection. And we're looking for what the x value would be. So in this case, that would be the negative 1.5, and then this side over here is that positive 2. So this is already done for you, but just as an overview. I've already factored this equation because that way I can just make a quick sketch of the graph. Okay, so eventually you guys are going to be learning a little bit more about the a value. So since axis of symmetry has to go right here, and my vertex, I'm going by ones on my scales, by the way, it's going to be right here. My parabola is going to look so up 1 over 1, up 3 over 1. So then I'm going to go over to this side, and here's my sketch. All right. My zeros, as you noticed, I already did that, were at x is 0 and x is equal to 2. This problem here, this value is going to be our y-intercept, and in this case that is also going to be our vertex. There is no middle term, so this one's a little bit more simple. Again, you can use Desmos. So here's where my first 0 is going to be. The other one's going to be negative. So this one's going to be, my x's are going to be at x is equal to a positive 2 and a negative 2. I used a little bit of my algebra skills to find my axis of symmetry. So remember that I used my zeros, found, I added them up, divided by 2. So go back into our chapter 8 if you need to. And that gave me that negative 1.5. Substitute that back into your equation, which is going to give you a y, not a 0 here, which is now the height of the vertex. So that's about here. And here's my sketch. And my zeros, again, they're right here. For the guided practice, we're going to solve the equation by graphing. And notice again, this is already in standard form, and I would factor this. Now, I know you can use Desmos, but I'm trying to convince you guys to practice your algebra skills, okay? You can always check using Desmos. So here I factored, which means this x has to be the 0, and this x has to be a negative 4, because that negative 4 plus a 4 will 0 out. So I'm just going to go by ones. So here's my 0 at the origin, 3, 4, but it's negative. My axis of symmetry is going to be at x is equal to negative 2. I'm going to substitute that value back into the original equation to get my the y coordinate for the vertex. All right, so I did a little bit of math here, and you can see what my vertex is. If we were to find the vertex, notice how our a value is 1. We go up 1 over 1. Remember that parabolas are symmetrical. And then notice the next jump. 1, 2, 3, and then over 1. If we were to continue this pattern, after 1, then 3, the next odd number is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. So that would be where our next point would be if we were to make a table of values. And again, they're symmetrical, so we can kind of see the U shape taking place here. All right, I'm going to do my best. And there is my sketch. And again, what are my zeros? This is, we're solving, right? This right here, but again, a little joy in graphing. Feel like Bob Ross, but with graphing. For number 2, I'm going to graph these separately. So I'm not going to make it equal to 0, just so that you can see, get a little practice. All right, so this is just a negative x squared. This is linear. This is good review. So this is your y-intercept, so that's up 1 right here. Notice this is your slope, so we're going to go down to 1, 2, 1 to the right, down 2, 1 to the right. And now if we're going to go backwards, we can go up 2 units, 1 to the left. All right, so our intersection, I know this isn't perfect, but it's going to be right here. And x equals 1, and now we can go back and substitute that back in. Now here's where you have to be careful. When you A times C is 4, and B is 2. So what two numbers multiply to 4? So here's 1 and 4, 2 and 2, and notice everything's positive. So if we were to try to graph this, well, it's not factorable. Now we can graph this, so don't freak out. So I went ahead and graphed the function in Desmos, and you can see it's not working out. There is no solution. This is not factorable. But it's not just that it's not factorable, it's just that it's not going to cross the x-axis. So in this situation, we have no real solutions. Again, we have to say the word real. In your future coming up, you're going to be taking Algebra 2, and you're going to be learning about imaginary numbers. So please be open-minded. Okay, so my axis of symmetry is going to go through x is equal to -1. All right, so I found the vertex by substituting that -1 back into the equation. I'm trying to show, I know, like I said, I keep telling you guys, I know we can use Desmos, but really try to practice your algebra skills. So I found the vertex, it's right here. So if this is a vertex, notice it's opening up. A is positive, and that means that if there's a point here, there's got to be a point over here. Your A value is 1. So if you wanted to, you could try to pretend 1, 2, 3 over 1. So here is our graph. It's going to look something like that. And you guys already saw it on Desmos, so it's not perfect here, but you can see no solution, which is what we had to do in the end. So if you're looking for the zeros, remember those are your x-intercepts. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. This is a cubic function. I'm going to go ahead and put my x's or zeros in order from least to greatest. So 0, 1, and 2. And we're going by 1, so you're just double checking. Same thing here. So we've got a point here and 1 here. This is a double root. So in this case, even though it's a cubic function, it only has 2 zeros or 2 solutions. And what is that? -2 and a +1. All right, and then this last one, it's a cubic function again. So we've got a 0 here, here, and here. So what are those values? X is equal to -1. That's a +1, and that is a +3. So that's it. Don't complicate it. I hope you like this section because I love it. Notice I try to do as much old school as I could, but use Desmos to check.
Just gonna watch, make sure you guys are doing your practice. And don't think I don't know what you're doing with those other math apps. Clever. See ya. I do miss ya.